Hey, how's it going? Welcome back to another episode of the Sim Racing Alliance Grid Report. Back for week 2 and week 1 of the Sim Racing Alliance GT3 series. Suzuka just finished. Divisions 1 through 6 put on quite the show. F1's just about to get going with the Brazilian Grand Prix coming up tomorrow. I know this is going to release probably after the races started, but we're recording on Saturday night. But I'm happy to be back out here with Bailey in the booth again. This time we're down Lucas, but you're only as strong as your weakest link, so.
Exactly. And the way we've worked around that is to just do it without your weakest link. So here we are.
Exactly. He got lost in that tzatziki sauce, so,
He did, dude. He's full of tzatziki right now. Oh
Yeah.
boy.
So
But yeah,
like we said, Suzuka just had week 1. That was quite the showing. I mean, like I said, every division put on quite the race from start to finish. There was battles all the way up and down the grid. Perfect example of what everybody's been saying. This whole splits are tight as they can get, but I think the real talking point is how clean Division 6 turned out. I don't really pay too much attention to the number of drivers because Division 6 is a lot of people who are newer to sim racing, haven't done league racing and stuff like that, but no incidents. I don't think there was a single penalty. Like,
nope.
wow.
What I am unsure of is if the people, like, there could have been incidents, they just may not have been reported. But
Right.
if there was incidents, they must have not been big enough to report.
Yeah.
So that could be the worst case scenario. But yeah, shout out to D6 for the first ever D6 race that SRA has put on. So they're showing everybody how it's done.
Exactly. Given a
So,
great benchmark for the future races and the future drivers to stand up to, but
yep,
it was sick to see Division 5 and Division 6 finally launch here.
it
But
was. And um, with all these new people as well, it's just you never know what's going to happen. All these new guys getting involved with the returning guys, and to there be, I feel like we've had a lot more reported races incident wise than we have this week.
oh yes.
Surprisingly.
Yes.
So it's very good to see that the strictness and the penalty system that SRA has created is doing its job.
Exactly. Just that ever running idea of trying to create a place that we can all come and race with people who want to race, not just hop in and lap and, oh well, I took somebody out. And it's hard to find that, and we're all pretty proud of what's come out of it.
Absolutely. And coming from the commentating side, it's also very entertaining to commentate and watch just because it's like there's so much going on. There's battles everywhere up and down the track. So, like you said earlier, the gaps are ridiculously close.
Yeah, I think our division was split by only a couple seconds, but we'll get to that
Yeah.
as we go up and down the grid. So
Yep.
why don't we start out with Division 6? We've got 3 brand new drivers to the league taking on the podium with Pat Cockcroft, Thomas Ma, and Harvey Candola. Did you have a chance to watch that race? I unfortunately didn't.
I didn't either. From what I heard, Harvey Condola is actually on Ghost Rider Racing that I own. He said that it was actually pretty decent racing. Um, D6 probably had the biggest gap intervals just because of how much those guys actually practiced and the um, ability that these guys have too. So, from what I heard, it was actually a decent race, although they had, I think, 18 or 20 drivers or something like that. So, um,
Yeah, when you got
I
that
wouldn't.
small of a grid and you can call
Yeah,
it a good or entertaining race after an hour, then that must have been it had to have been because you'd run into some big open space empty racing pretty fast.
yep. Especially if you get one of those early drive-through penalties or a stop go 30, you'll be out there in the boondocks, as they say.
Exactly. And then moving on to the other new division, we've got Division 5 with Austin Whitescarver taking the win, another new driver to SRA, Eduardo Rodriguez, a returning driver in P2, and Justin McKechnie in P3.
Yep.
Are these guys
Very.
some more uncounted drivers in your team?
Justin McKechnie is as well, and um, he said the same thing. D5 had a great race. I've watched a little bit of highlights from D5. Um, there was a couple of incidents, but nothing like major, surprisingly. So, um, we're D5 and D6 are going to be no slouching compared to the other four divisions. So I'm excited to see what happens and what comes out of D5 and D6.
Yeah, it's awesome to see that no matter how much improvement we go through and changes each season, that the bottom divisions are still the staple for like safety, consistency, like good
Yep,
racing.
absolutely. Yeah, I agree.
And do you have D4's podium?
I do actually. I was on the D4 race this week, so I was able to watch from start to finish. Waleed Sadat had a very impressive race overall. Qualified first, finished first. He actually came back and he dropped down to like 10th at the beginning of the race, got in an early accident and came back and actually won the race. So good on him. John Carbo came back in second. Actually finished third, but because of penalties from Andy Speed, those two flip flops. So Andy Speed actually got the third place on the podium. So good job to those guys. Andy, I pulled up for the interview and he's like, didn't where am I? Wasn't really sure what was going on. So the new guys still getting kind of the feel of SRA. So I'm hoping to break them in early
Yeah, man.
and for the rest of the season.
And
So
it's always funny to get those people up there for the first interview. They're like, what's going on? Where am I? Why
yeah,
did I just
yeah,
magically leave my voice channel?"
yep. There was one. I think it was Carbo maybe, or it might have been even. It might have been Andy. He goes, "Oh wait, I'm not in race chat anymore." So yeah, it was pretty entertaining to see the new guys get pulled in for interviews.
Yeah. And it's nice that normally we record this on Friday, which is uh sometimes before the appeals close for penalties. So we've actually got like the finalized positions and podiums, but we normally give 24 hours from the race to put in a penalty and then 24 hours from the penalties being released to appeal them. So sometimes you run into position changes on Saturday afternoon, but yeah, Andy dropping down to P3, that's not too bad of a penalty.
No,
What did he get?
absolutely
10
not.
seconds?
I think it was a 10-second penalty, if I do remember. I don't know. I don't think they give out anything less, I believe.
Yes, I do.
I might be wrong.
I think that is the smallest penalty, but
I think so, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, with a penalty dropping you only down one position in the top three, I would take every day of the week.
for sure. There's a lot of tight racing usually up in that top 5, top 10, and sometimes, I don't know, a 5-second penalty can drop you multiple positions.
Absolutely. So, looking to see what D4 will do next week.
Yeah,
Very excited to see.
yeah. Division 3, we had two more new drivers on the podium, and that was a nice tendency over the course of the first week is how many new drivers to the league we saw up on the podium. But we had Jared Sacombe taking the win, Rafael Astolfo in P2, and the return of Jess Osborne in P3. It's nice to see him finally getting a result. The sim racing gods have not been on his side, but
Absolutely not.
he's back. His form is coming back a little bit.
Yeah,
What do you have to think? I know you've done a lot of racing with Jess.
I have done a lot of racing with Jess. A little backstory: when I joined SRA in Division Three, Jess was actually in Division One Pro Am, which would be technically considered Division Two at the time, but we only had three divisions, so D1 was split when it was Pro and Pro Am. Since then, Jess was in D2 last season, so I got to race Jess. Um, Kind of unlucky, but he was very quick. And then this season got dropped down to D3. So it's good to see that he's actually finding his spot and potentially make his way back up to the top.
Yeah, there's been such an influx of drivers joining, and the skill that these people are bringing is scary sometimes when you see someone new come in and
Yeah,
beat your personal best by 2 seconds. but you can practice and practice and practice and still be getting pushed down divisions. But
Yeah.
it's good to see that he was actually able to bring a race home, get on the podium, and personally, I look forward to seeing more of it because I also remember when Jess was in D1, and he clearly has the skill, the ability, the pace to be up
Yep.
there with the best drivers of SRA. And I know he does a lot for our commentating team and stuff like that. Has a lot of back end responsibility. So hopefully, with some of our new staff members that are coming on, he can put some more time in the rig.
Would be absolutely great to see Jess make his return. Return to Jess, season 5.
You heard it here first. But now time for our mess, or should I say race, Division 2. Mr. Sir with the greatest name in SRA taking the win, Joe
And
Wong in second place, and Powell Kreshka taking third.
Mr. Sir with the biggest win of the week in all 6 divisions with I think it was at least a 20-second gap.
Yeah, I believe it. I think it may have even started with a 3, but that's quite the
Yeah, well,
dominant win as a
I think
hello
anything
and
after 2 is the
yeah,
same number.
yeah,
So
just a bit of a I'm here to race. What are you gonna do?
exactly. So we'll see how long he sticks around in D2, but
Def-
my guess is not long.
Definitely. It's unfortunate, but I mean, we do our best with the sorting in the off season. We have that hot stint leaderboard, and sometimes, I mean, you join really close to when the season starts, and you only get the chance to put in one set of 5 laps to get your hot stint in, and then you can't improve, and it's not the best representation. But
Yeah.
that's the beauty of
That's
doing this in race one and getting, if he gets promoted, getting moved up, is he doesn't lose a bunch of championship points out of this. Because when you do
true.
switch divisions, you don't get a transfer of points.
Mm-mm.
So better now
Well,
than
and
race
then
4 or 5 or something.
exactly. Well, and then the other part you got to take into effect is he's got a teammate, and so then move him up. That guy is now without a teammate, and won't be really looking to really make a fight in the team standings because I believe, everybody has a teammate in our division or
Yeah,
almost every division.
I don't think we've got too many solo drivers this year, if
Hmm.
any. And the beauty of our little bots that these guys have put together, like that team finder bot is so useful.
Hmm.
Just I want a
Very
teammate,
much
I
so.
want to drive these cars. Oh, somebody
Yeah,
else wants to? Sends you a direct ping.
yeah. It's actually a really nice system that they got in place, and it creates teams very very quickly.
Yeah, it's super helpful on top of the fact that there's some people who just don't like talking around in the general chats or trying to scroll for 5 minutes to see a response to a message you said an hour ago. So
Yeah,
helps
yeah,
make things a little bit easier.
absolutely.
Just
But yeah,
checking over
D2.
the teams, we don't have any solo drivers in D2.
Yeah, I didn't think we did. I know there's one. I believe there's one in D1, and I know there's probably a couple in D6.
There are 4 solo drivers in Division 1. I don't know how that
Or
happened. Yeah,
wow,
with Brooker Quigg, one of the podium drivers from week 1, Nick Son, Basley, and Jeff Spangler, all saying, I don't need a teammate, I'm here for the Drivers' Championship.
I believe doesn't Blaine Hall not have a teammate either?
Somebody's got to get on this website and update it. I
Yeah,
see that
Blaine
too, Blaine Hall in the
in
Pepega
13th.
squad.
Yeah, Blaine Hall, who is actually the screw it. Let's go up to D1 now since we're already on the topic. D1. Yeah, Blaine Hall actually was the pole sitter in qualifying for D1.
Yeah,
Ended up
he had quite the lap time. Those were intimidating. What was it, like a 14,
59-4.
59.4? Like,
Yep.
what? How?
And
I
then Brooker Queeg actually qualified second by 700ths of a second behind him. And then I believe it was Travis Nordstrom who was 7 thousandths behind him. So those three were right there at the 59-4, 59-5 range.
Yeah, talk about a tight split on that one.
Absolutely. So Brooker Queeg actually pulling it out for the first week with the win.
Yeah,
Old
but
coach.
I believe Blaine was in a bit of an incident at the start of the race, had to pit early, if I remember correctly.
He So he was leading the race for the first couple of minutes, and then, from what I have heard and seen, the Mercedes at Suzuka was actually suffering from tire wear a lot quicker and sooner than the other cars. So his tires were gone by like halfway through the race.
Uh,
So
the real
yeah,
silent killer.
he was falling down the order, and then towards the end of the race, he got bumped and lost a couple more positions. So his finishing position is not representative of where he actually is.
That is a shame, but the beauty of the championship is he's got 7 more races to prove his worth, and that race could even qualify as a drop race if he
Yep,
manages to finish better than where he did for the rest of the
which
races.
I
But
believe he can.
even then, he came home. I believe it was top 5, so not a bad result. No, sorry, 13th.
13th, 13th. Yep,
My mistake. But
yep. The
even
end of the
then,
race
in
was
the
rough.
grid sizes that the Division One pulls, I believe they had 40 drivers.
I believe that is correct. Yes,
Yeah, 33 drivers showed up for week 1, but they do have 40 on the registry. That's still a very respectable performance in that split.
absolutely.
But I don't know about you. I know a lot of us on top of week 1 and the start of season 5 were looking forward to the special events that go along with the sim racing series and seasons. And
Yep.
today was supposed to be the 24 hours of Spa promoted by Box 3. And unfortunately, due to some like server issues and stuff, that race we tried restarting it multiple times. We tried redoing things, uninstalling, reinstalling, people updating and restarting their computers, but to no avail. We weren't able to hold the event, but they're still they still did do a continue the charity stream for the day. Still continuing to take on donations. Just trying to get myself the name of the organization so that I do not do it any disservice. Extra Life. It's a foundation which fundraises money for hospitals in Canada and the United States for children's hospitals. So um, even though we weren't directly related to it, just wanted to give them a shout out. And if you got the opportunity, go out, lend a hand, and who knows, could be your kid in there one day.
Yeah, we don't want it to be, but
No, no,
just in case.
but
Also, it's also for a great cause, so wouldn't
exactly,
be a bad thing to support them. So, and they
exactly.
were putting on a great event that ended up not being what they were hoping to be. So,
Hmm.
looking for probably a better outcome in the future.
Definitely. A little bit more than the 24 minutes of spa. But I believe they are looking to reschedule the event, so I think sometime in the
Yeah,
next month towards Christmas time we may see that pop back up again and get it going, but 'tis the season.
it is the season. So, yeah, that's unfortunate to hear, especially after your all-nighter last night preparing for this race.
Yeah, and I definitely wasn't the only one. A lot of cold brews and Red Bulls and Rock Stars were drank last night trying to keep people up, prepped and ready for what was supposed to be a 5 o'clock EST start time. Um, but yeah, it didn't pan out that way, but it is what it is. So, on the
We
bright
live and we
side,
learn.
because I wasn't in the car, I got to actually watch F1 today. So,
Oh,
like that sprint race was definitely worth the watch. I didn't
very much worth the watch.
the the
But
the, the Haas boulder was a shame. I did not
yeah,
think that Magnussen was going to stick it out up top, but I also did not think it was going to happen that fast.
yeah. Before we jump into the sprint race, let's
Oh,
go back to qualifying first, shall we?
qualifying.
As qualifying, the end of qualifying, Q3 especially, got spicy.
Yes, it did.
K-Mag coming out, a little context, K-Mag walking away with his first ever pole and Haas's first ever pole.
Yeah, with the weather in Brazil, it just kept like raining, not raining, raining, not raining,
Yep.
and they got over the line first, and he had the most grip on the track. Right
Hmm.
place, right time.
Yep. And I was watching a TikTok actually this morning. It was a 3D render. They put K-Mag and Max in a um, overlay of each other's um, qualifying lap that they did right before the rain started,
Gotcha.
and Max was actually leading all the way up until the final straight.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and K-Mag actually had the better exit coming
Hmm.
out of it, which gave him, I don't remember what the gap was, but that's what made or break the pole position and
Wow.
gave it to K-Mag. Who would have thought Max Verstappen and Kevin Magnussen in a Haas would be racing for pole position?
For real. Like it's no comparison because it's just a video game, but I know racing racing on that track coming up that left-hander in the wet, it's so hard to stay on the throttle. Like I wonder
Yes.
if part of that was the issue. Max didn't want to do another pirouette, even though he saved it before.
Yeah. And it also could have been the lines they'd taken because Max took a shallower line into there, is where K-Mag actually flicked it in last second and was on the gas a lot earlier. So it could have been that. And then who knows how wet the track was because it was raining by the end of their laps,
Yep.
which is why George Russell brought out the red flag.
Doing donuts over there after he
Yeah,
put on a little bit of a Monster Jam sideshow for qualifying.
yeah, he wanted to go to the beach, but he's at the wrong beach.
Yeah. So, there's no lifeguards and no action over there, that's for sure.
No, just a couple of stewards.
Even then, they're probably not going to help you.
No, probably not.
Did you
But
did you see the onboard of him? They were showing the footage of after he crashed and it flipped to him,
I,
and he's like waving his hands, asking for them to push, and they're all just like standing there looking at him.
oh, that's funny. No, I didn't see that. That's funny though.
Like, dude.
But then for the last 8 minutes of qualifying, after the red flag cleared, he was still just standing over there.
Hmm.
Nobody would take him back, which was even funnier.
Just
So
gave up.
yeah. But yeah, so that was a little bit of what happened in qualifying. Let's get to the sprint race, shall we?
Yeah, the that sprint race was awesome. Like
It was.
the Max was super dominant off the start, and then
Hmm. Well, I'd
and the
say Kevin had actually the better start of the two. Could be the tire difference because Max started on the mediums,
yeah,
which was a interesting strategy.
for sure. I mean, like, I could see the point. The softs were probably screaming by the end of that race, but it didn't show too
Hmm.
much because the entire field was on softs. But
Yeah.
like, with
Besides
that Red Bull
Latifi.
was already, yeah, that Red Bull was already struggling for turn in and just slow corner grip. I don't know why they would opt for the slower tire.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I mean, I don't know. For it being 24 laps, I think because I didn't hear anybody complaining about tires until like lap 20, 21.
Hmm.
But then at that point, the race is basically over for
Yeah,
most people.
yeah, that's a good point. I mean, not for Lance Stroll. The race is never over for that man.
Oh no, he was doing what he could, and sometimes it was a little too much.
Yeah, just a wee bit, driving your teammate into the grass.
Yeah,
I
that
just
was Sub's reaction was the funniest though. He goes, "Okay."
honestly, he's like,
Oh,
what, whatever, okay.
yeah, very entertaining. But
I,
I forgot what I was gonna say. Go ahead.
I, I don't know. I don't really have too much words. How did George win that race? I mean, like opportunity and the Mercedes just kind of hooking up, but really,
It could have been
Carlos?
because yeah, um, it could have been that the fact that Max was on mediums and the Haas was in front of him, so I think he just had the better combination. But then again, you look at Lewis; he started eighth and finished third.
Yeah,
So the Mercedes probably has really good race pace around here, from what I've seen.
it, it's
Um,
it's certainly nice to see three cars fighting for the front.
it is, and as that technically is Georgia's first win,
Yeah, technically.
uh, we'll see if what happens tomorrow with Lewis being him as a Brazilian now, and it's his home race.
Oh, I can hear it already. I know that Mercedes is going to be calling for the switch when it gets near the end if they happen to be up front. Get
Yes.
Lewis's win. Maybe that's the ripple that starts the Rosberg season. when George
I mean,
goes, no.
2 weeks in, as a Brazilian, and he's already saying, "Oh, this is my race. This is my race. This is my race."
Okay, bud, it's your race. We get it. You're Brazilian.
We get it. We get it. If you can't win Silverstone,
Need a second try.
exactly. But I think don't count out Max
No, that
because
the Red Bull's still a strong car.
yeah,
Tire deg is tire deg.
and if being on the same tire as everybody else, I'm sure that car is much quicker than most.
Definitely. For certain that Mercedes. If he can, I mean, if he can stop with the understeering and the low speed corners, there's nowhere that car is gonna get passed by the Merc.
Yeah,
If he gets past them on the start, which you know Max
100%.
is gonna be super ambitious to go
Well,
for a move.
and the top speed difference that you saw on the second DRS straight,
Yeah,
it wasn't much of a difference except for the one that George overtook. It could have been the fact that he was probably using more ERS, whereas Max was probably using his in the earlier laps to keep him at bay, but it still the DRS isn't a big effect onto the Red Bull in my opinion.
no, it's just so dominant in a straight line that you have to have a run. Like look at George trying to get past Max. He had a massive run on him 2 laps in a
Yep.
row, and he couldn't get around the car until he used all of
No.
his battery.
And he had the toe actually when he overtook him as well, whereas the two previous times he was just side by side.
Yeah.
So I was just trying to drag race him until he had the little extra help of slipstream, which was probably an extra 2 kmh, potentially 3 kmh, because DRS I believe give you 6 at this
So,
track.
something like that.
Yeah, I
Gotta
think
love
that
how
was it.
small the margins are, but how big or like how fast the gaps close.
Hmm.
It's freaky to watch.
Yeah, it is. Also very entertaining.
No doubt.
But
No doubt.
yeah, looking to the grid for tomorrow. Um, Carlos with the engine penalty. I think it was 5 positions.
Yep, 5 position grid penalty for Carlos.
Yep.
He's got to take his 6th ICE of the season. I'm wondering how Ferrari managed to budget for that one.
I don't either. They might be hitting a cost cap here like Red Bull did.
Do you see something on the screen? I see
I smell
Tsutsi
something actually.
I see a
I think I smell
tzatziki boy in a
tzatziki.
bucket hat.
Yeah, I think I smell tzatziki.
Hello.
Ladies and gentlemen, the weakest link.
He is here.
How'd you
Welcome,
know my
Lucas.
how'd you know my nickname?
Oh, buddy, we know who
Uh,
you are.
we know everything about you.
Oh god.
So where you been, man?
Are we
We're
good?
talking about the F1 sprint. Did you at least watch it?
Oh yeah, no, that is interesting. It's very interesting to say the least. I watched some of it. Uh I am well, congrats to Mercedes. I don't know if you brought up that point yet.
Oh yeah.
No, we have not. We were getting there, but you got me on that. So yeah, big congrats to Mercedes. Looks like they're coming back.
Now, do we think that's a reflective of how the race is gonna go tomorrow? Or do we
The,
Well,
think that's
I was telling Josh earlier, I think the Mercedes actually has a lot better race pace than they did in the qualifying. And it showed as Lewis started from 8th and finished 3rd. And then George, third to first. So it's going to be interesting. I think the Red Bull of Max and Checo, because Checo is starting 4th
yeah,
now with Carlos out
correct.
or back now
I
out. But
believe so.
so it's going to be a flashback to last season with Mercedes, Red Bull, Red Bull. So we're
Yeah.
gonna see. I think the Red Bulls on same tire strats or even same tire in general is going to be the quicker car, just with the straight line speed as well.
And correct me if I'm wrong, the sprint races are no pits either.
No
Can
Well,
you?
you can
mandatory.
pit. Yeah,
Oh,
you
you
can pit.
can.
It's just not
Okay.
smart to. Yeah. As if you see Alonso, what happened? Alonso had to go in and change a front wing and was 15 seconds behind Latifi, but actually ended up passing Latifi.
Oh man, that
Yeah.
that that poor guy, Latifi.
Yes.
Like
So sad. Latifi's got 2 more races in F1.
I'm sad to see him go, but
It's
you know
gonna
what?
it's gonna be a little bit
He's had a
harder to
good
bet
run.
on safety cars now.
True. Yeah, no,
True.
Mercedes won't
Unless,
lose any World Drivers' Championships, so nobody's
wow,
going.
controversial.
Yeah, well, call me Ted Kravitz because
Controversial.
you know
There's a robbery.
It's
there was a robbery, highway robbery.
it's kind of interesting that they brought that up on the cast,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then the next race, Red Bull's like, yeah, we're just not gonna talk to you guys.
But then they totally forgot about it when they walked into Brazil. So
I don't know if it was more of like a forgetting, right? They're just gonna like sweep it under the rug, but more like, well, this is like a mutual benefiting relationship. Like, don't do that again, maybe.
or more of like a shut your mouth kind of thing.
I
Yeah,
could
yeah.
see it. Like there's a lot of people pointing to um like the whole reporting is supposed to be ambiguous and that kind of gave off a bias vibe. And like
Hmm.
yeah, I get it. Sky Sports is the UK's broadcasting and their sports thing. But when all of the teams are there, you still need to be ambiguous. So like I kind of get Red Bull's point, but it's like
There was
fucking who cares?
Yeah,
It's
honestly, just
robbery.
get
Well,
over it.
what did he do
Get
this
over it.
year?
Yeah,
Sucked.
yeah, yeah.
but before we move on, let's hear your final 3 race prediction. Your top 3 race predictions.
I'm gonna
Hmm.
say I think George is gonna take the win.
Oh, okay.
And I say that because Mercedes has let him be lenient with strategies. So I feel like he can make the call that'll help
Hmm.
keep him out front. I'm gonna say Max P2 and I'm gonna say Checo P3.
Hmm. All right. If that's before we get to mine, I just want to ask, what has it in your mind that Hamilton's gonna fall out of the podiums?
That's a great question that I was going to ask as well.
I think it's either going to be A, Mercedes giving the lead strategy to, or the strategy choice to the leading car, and it's going to compromise Hamilton, or um, he's just going to have an issue with either trying to jump past Max and Checo, or he's going to have Carlos trying too hard to get past him.
Carlos from all the way back there.
He's only a few positions behind.
Bold. Wow.
If the Red Bulls sweep the Mercedes, like as in get past Lewis, he's going to have a hard time getting past them, but the
Yeah.
field will catch him
Hmm.
very fast.
Okay. Lucas, what do
See,
you think? That is a bold prediction, actually, I
that
would
is a
say.
bold prediction. I I have another question, but I'll say my three real quick.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna swap it. I'm gonna go Lewis first
Hmm.
because I have a feeling George Russell might cook it like he did in qualifying. Max second, and then I'm gonna go Leclerc third.
Charles Leclerc in third. Wow.
Yeah,
I was not expecting that, especially with how Ferrari's been looking lately.
I am being a little bit.
Especially Charles Leclerc.
I'm being a little bit optimistic
Yeah.
A little
because
bit.
you think that toward the end of the season, Ferrari would want to have some of the good strength. It's like starting off good,
Yeah.
but maybe they can like pull something out.
They need something because the
They
way
need
it's looking
something.
right now is Mercedes is gonna bring this fight back to them in Abu Dhabi.
For real. I think it's gonna be a Mercedes Ferrari fight in Abu Dhabi. I think Red Bull's just gonna relax.
I think so too.
I Yeah.
Go ahead, Lucas. Sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say uh how the top five look. Russell, Hamilton, Verstappen, Perez, Leclerc. Do you think that's gonna change? That order will change coming out of turn one?
Oh yeah.
Um, I mean, I'm sure it's gonna be the same 5 because you got Lando in the mix,
Ye Sure.
but I, I mean, there'll probably be some switching of positions, in my opinion.
If I could put money down on specific instances, I would confidently put $5 down on Max being on the inside of Lewis for turn 2, because that pole and odd
Ooh.
number spot is actually on the outside of turn 1.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to stick it around the outside and force him to leave space.
But that side of the track is statistically better for starts.
Right.
As you see in the sprint race, whereas K-Mag was almost 3 car lengths ahead of Max by the corner.
That is a good point.
Mm.
So, and all the drivers have said that just that side of the track is a better start. So,
Well, I just want to add to my bold predictions, so we'll see what
I like
happens.
it. I like it.
Nice,
We're
nice.
changing this to bold predictions.
Well, speaking of K-Mag, did you talk?
Hold on, sir.
Was
You show up
sorry,
late
sorry.
and now you want to jump Bailey's
Oh, oh,
predictions?
oh, wait. Sorry.
What a guy.
He's lost in the sauce.
My
He's lost in
bad.
the
My
tzatziki.
bad. I
Tsatsiki'd
lost.
out.
I
Too
got
many
the.
too many souvlaki's.
I
Oh,
got the. I got the post snap brain going. My bad.
okay,
Go
interesting.
Bailey.
Edit
Go
button.
Bailey.
Well, I'll just say mine quickly. I think, Josh, your prediction of Max getting past Lewis in turn 1 is quite the opposite of what I think. I think Lewis is actually going to just absolutely blow by George and run away with the race, and Max will be chasing his tail
Mm,
as George finishes P3.
okay. Okay.
So I'm gonna say Lewis, Max, George.
All right. Quite the mix up. Now,
Yeah. As much as I don't really want Lewis to win, but I just think like he's a Brazilian now. He's starting front row. He's gotten the better starts the last couple races. He's had the better races. He's had the better sprint race.
yeah.
Well, I mean, not really. He's just looked like he was very, very quick in the sprint race.
He's a skilled
But
driver, and when he wants something, he can put his mind to it.
absolutely. So I'm gonna put a lot of what I got on Lewis.
Sounds good. But what were you gonna bring up, Lucas?
I was gonna bring up the fact that Mick started at the back
Yeah,
of the sprint race.
We
He
didn't
started
really go
20th
over that.
we did
and he
not.
finished 12th.
He was actually 15th by the end of lap 1.
Yeah, he had quite the opposite of K-Mag's race.
Yeah, K-Mag. I mean, hey, at
I
least
mean,
K-Mag led the first lap. Good for him.
Yeah, that's true.
oh, I was gonna say, I mean, when you have Mercedes, Red Bull, Red Bull, Ferrari, McLaren, like I'm kind of not surprised that he dropped all the way down to 8.
Yeah, it was a matter of time. I just think it was the qualifying conditions he took the most advantage of. He put up the best lap possible he could have, and it turned out to be exactly what they're hoping for. And then I think they expected this to happen in the race. That's why I don't know if you guys saw how much of the actual defending K-Mag didn't do. He more of just let them go as he should have, as that Haas is not really competing against those cars.
Yeah,
Yeah, he was
yeah,
almost not defending at all.
Yeah,
that's probably a good decision by them.
yeah. I mean, he still got a point from the sprint race, so
Yeah,
that's a big win anyway.
Well, I'm looking ahead at the weather tomorrow. It doesn't look like it's going to be raining. It looks like 20% chance of rain and about 80 degrees Fahrenheit in Sao Paulo for race start tomorrow. So I don't think the Haas is going to get any recuperated positions going forwards.
Mhm.
Maybe Mick can make up a few more, but the Haas, it's not as dominant from the start of the season, but like
No, the Haas definitely.
they've made a lot of improvements to that car. They are not the bottom feeder they were last season.
No, and they
no.
know which tracks they are expecting good results at just by the way the car drives.
Yep.
Do
Um,
you do you expect or do you predict a Haas to finish in the top 10?
Yes.
I do, yeah,
I think whether it's see they say that Mick's fate is already decided. They're just not publicly stating it. Like he knows.
yeah.
And I
I think
think
he's gone.
I think so too, unfortunately, and I think he's going to do everything he can to get points. So he's right there. This is probably
Yeah,
the most aggressive we'll see Mick drive.
I agree. There was
Mm.
I don't know if you saw the team photo after qualifying from Haas,
I did not.
but Mick was in it. I actually have a screenshot of it. Um, he's like in the mix of everybody, and he just looks absolutely defeated.
Oh,
Yeah,
After the sprint
it's
race?
after qualifying yesterday,
oh
Mm.
wow.
because
Well, I
because
mean, it could be
came
the
back
last
pole.
position.
Yeah, he said he wasn't happy about how he was driving.
It could have been. It could be a mix of everything. Just because I don't personally, as much as I'd want him to stay, I don't think they're going to keep him around,
Fortunately, me neither.
especially after qualifying this week. I mean, we'll see what happens with tomorrow's race. So we'll see. I don't know. It'd be sad to see him go, but business is business.
Business is business.
It's the downfall of, well, business. You lose all
Exactly.
personability. Can't just have the
Money
nice guy.
talks. No, you can't. Otherwise, he'd be here forever.
Yep. And we
Same,
all want it.
we do.
While we're on the topic of Haas, and I guess we can use this as a little bit of a transition. So this is actually the second time we're recording this podcast. 2 days ago, or last night, we recorded this and had
Mm.
some audio issues, and we were talking about Fittipaldi coming to the race
Yes.
and
Mm.
how Enzo's in F2 and Emerson's part, or whatever, you know what I mean. The one's part of Haas and the other one's in F2. He's P2 in the championship. Enzo just signed with the Red Bull Drivers Program this morning.
Did he
Oh,
really? I
I
did
saw
not
that.
see
I
He
that.
saw that.
he did. I think
I saw that.
AlphaTauri is starting to restock that pool. How long till he's in the AlphaTauri?
Um, Depending how he does, I give if that's the case, if he does really well in the feeder program and Yuki struggles again next season, I can see potentially Yuki getting the kick.
Yeah. And that'd be, you think they've got Yuki and De Vries, correct, for next season?
Correct, correct.
If that doesn't
Yes.
work out, Sargent and Fittipaldi? It's Sargent's or sorry, was it Sargent or who was
Logan
Uh,
Sargent signed for Williams.
so
Williams?
you said for when
Who
you're
was
Yes.
talking about
the
Herta, right?
Herta? That's who it is. Either
Talking about
Herta
Herta.
or the other American driver that they were looking at.
Who's the other one?
There was a second one.
Yeah, I didn't know there was two American drivers.
I
I thought
wish
it
I
was
had
just
my
Herta.
I wish I had more information in front of me, but I feel that if I think next season is more just like a middling season. They might switch things back up, but that
Yeah.
raises an eyebrow for me, that signing.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Maybe they're assuming that Herta won't have his license next year either.
Well, it doesn't sound like they're making any progress on it.
Yeah, maybe he just wants to stay in India at this point.
Well,
Well,
I don't
they're
think he
Or
wants to stay in Indy. I just
or
don't think he has a choice.
could that be signaling a Andretti team coming in?
no, I don't think
Not
so.
anytime soon. Yeah, I don't
Well,
think
there
anytime
was a.
soon.
The only reason I bring that
Dominicali's
up
already
again,
said that F1's not in the place to add constructors right now.
Mm-mm.
there was a article that came out in the past week that said that they're looking into adding an 11th.
Yeah, but
The
they've been saying that for a year now, and what's his face literally walked up to the FIA and was like, "Here's all the money,"
yeah,
and they're like, "No."
and I don't think we'll see another constructor in F1 until at least 2026 or 2028.
I would say, yeah, those new regs gonna have to run for a little bit, and I think a
Yeah.
lot of people are just gonna be watching with a keen eye how Porsche and Audi do, and whether or
Hmm.
not they're actually gonna want to stick around. Because if they don't, it's gonna be a real red flag for new constructors to come in.
Yeah. Well, and
Yeah.
if say a team drops out, say Haas or something like that, just
Mhm.
runs out of money,
Oh
then
well,
he might step in.
in that if there's another team that goes down in money and needs a buy-in, that's where he's gonna get in. But
Yeah.
I don't
I
feel
think
like there'll be
that's the
a
soonest way in.
genuine Andretti Formula One team for quite a
No.
while.
Yeah. And he was on a podcast I was listening to a few weeks ago. about how he's saying he's like, oh, I'd be in for Formula One, but Formula One's not ready for another team for another constructor.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically what you were saying is basically what he said. So yeah, and he said that if he was to get a team in, he'd want to bring in 2 American drivers.
Yeah, and he's got quite the plethora with his Indy series and everything, so he's pretty much creating his own driver pool on
Yeah,
the side.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of the teams are less angry about that whole we don't want to have that 20 million or 2 million, whatever that new team buy-in thing factor is for the uh, prize money and stuff. I feel like they're more worried about the damage that Andretti could do in terms of like winning.
yeah, I think so as well.
I think they're worried about another Braun GP because like that was a smart man with a background coming in with a team and just ran over the league.
And the ability to pull in sponsors as well, bring in that extra money to develop a very good car.
Man,
'Cause that's
if this was like 2015, 2016 when people were at the height of their spending in Formula 1, like I think they would have gave Mercedes a run for their money
I
in how
agree.
much they spent.
Absolutely. Yeah,
I
I
think there
agree.
were it. It would be interesting because I think I was also reading some stuff that they said that Andretti would have to come in and potentially have like Ford as a backing.
Ford?
I
Yeah,
don't
that
think
that
Ford
would be.
wants back in though.
I don't think so either.
I'll say this: Reddit is a very interesting place.
There is a lot of information
Yes.
on there that you do have
Right,
to sift through and know what you're looking at, but you can find a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Reddit's an interesting place, and there's people just going left and right. But one of the more interesting ones was not that Andretti would be talking to Porsche because of the failed Red Bull deal,
Mm,
but possibly Andretti could be like trying to get like an American manufacturer to like an engine manufacturer to join them.
The only issue I could see with that is there's no American manufacturer that has any um
there
what would I
is.
say? Is there?
There's one, and it's a big if, but it like now that Lucas raises that point, it kind of sets off a light bulb. What American manufacturer just produced a hybrid hypercar for the new series of Le
Cadillac.
Mans?
Cadillac.
Cadillac.
Did they really? I have not seen that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, they
Think
just
about
created it.
that. That
Let me
that
look
that
this up.
just sent my mind on a whole different snowball that I'm gonna end up reading a bunch of Reddit after this, but uh, maybe. Still though, 26, 28, I can't see them coming earlier.
Oh my goodness, this thing is kind of crazy.
Yeah, those new cars look
And I
really
think that's
cool, and the Cadillac
I
Yeah.
think
sounds
that's
awesome.
yeah, and I think that's what for the 2024, right? Le Mans.
2020 in 2023, Cadillac will contest the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship and the FIA World Endurance Championship,
So it's
including
23
23?
this
including the
year.
24 hours of Le Mans. Yep,
Oh
Wow.
wow.
this coming
Okay.
year.
I thought it was 24.
And did I
That's what it
mishear,
says
or are
here.
the new next gen NASCAR cars going too?
To Le
I heard
Mans?
something about NASCAR trying to produce a Le Mans car.
Ooh, now let's search that up real quick. NASCAR Le Mans.
I know, cause I was like, how the fuck, like they with the way that they run their cars, like they'd have to
They
remodel
don't
the
turn.
drivetrain completely.
Yeah,
Well,
it
like
wouldn't be
the
even
new
really a
gen
NASCAR
cars, they
anymore.
made them a lot better for turning, cause they got rid of that whole
Oh yeah, you're right. Here it
non
is.
they got that parallel design now where it's
Wait,
actually a car, not just one side aero dependent, so that it would go
hmm
around
wait a
bankings.
second.
They're looking to submit a V8 Chevy Camaro.
Are you looking at the Reuters uh thing too?
Yeah, I am. Yeah,
That's
uh,
it's a
as
very interesting concept, and
TL1.
I think that if NASCAR can branch into something like that,
Yeah,
that's gonna pull a whole new league of fans into that league.
yeah. They're saying Hendrick Motorsports is partnering up with Goodyear tires, and they're putting in one of their ZL1s,
Oh wow.
or going to try to at least. Yeah,
I wonder
I
how
don't know if
long
that's
it's gonna make it.
official. I give it a couple laps.
I think it'll make it at least like 3 or 4 hours. Like how long do the 500s go for? Like how long is the Daytona 500, for example?
The Daytona 500 is
Couple
I
hours,
don't
no?
even. Yeah, probably. I don't even know anymore
105.
with these stupid what are they called? Uh,
Lap
I'm
counts?
blanking on it. Yeah, they're doing like stages. That's what I'm thinking of.
Oh,
The stages.
yeah.
I am
I
not a fan of
watched
the
like my
stage
first
racing.
NASCAR race in a while, and I'm like, what is this stage thing?
It's just so stupid. It's so much different than like, because I used to watch NASCAR as a kid all the time, and like they would just go for 400 laps, and it's like, this is American. But now it's like
Yeah,
it's it's soft in my opinion.
I'm not a fan of the stages, and I have a
Me
buddy that
neither.
works at NASCAR, and I've also told him that I'm not a fan of the stages.
Yeah, I missed the point of that changeover. So
Oh, just to answer the question, the Daytona 500 takes 3.5 hours.
mm,
Yeah, so and that's 3.5 hours, almost the entire time you're running at the fucking limit of the car.
yeah.
So I feel like if they, like basic engine stuff, beef up like the top end, so I can deal with all the hard acceleration and digging, I think they can make it through at least 3/4 of the race.
Well, then here's the part that NASCAR has no involvement in is the brakes.
Mm,
NASCARs don't brake,
that's a good point,
except
but
except when they go to the say the Glen or something.
that's true. Well, they're taking the new gen cars to Bathurst,
I did see that.
so
That's going to be interesting.
they're gonna have to have some good brakes.
They're
Hmm.
trying to do more road racing with the next gen cars
I
instead
Yeah.
love
of
that.
oval racing.
I think that like, NASCAR has its place, its heart, its truity, just like F1, just like any other series. But at the same time, it's like you're still racing on a road course. Like I find it not interesting when I see them go race on like street circuits.
Well, funny that you say that. I was actually about to mention this. Next year, they're actually doing their first street race in Chicago.
Yeah, I was like, what? That doesn't make any sense. Like these are purpose-built track cars.
Yes.
These should
Yep.
be on the track.
Uh-huh.
The homologation series where it's a road car that's turned into a race car, sure. You want to show what a Formula open wheel car looks like on an open road? Sure. But I don't see the purpose of it. Like they're
I
built to
don't
be
either.
going as fast as possible, not as slow as possible.
Well, and so the thing is, so I live actually 40 minutes from where they're going to be putting this track, and I know like these streets. I know the area of where it's going to be built. They're not going to be able to bring in very many fans or anything because they're going to have to put up all these walls. There's all these tall buildings that are in the way, and they're not even like residential buildings, they're office buildings.
Hmm.
So it's like you can't even see that. So it's more of just like a TV thing. So I don't know. It just takes away from what NASCAR is, I think.
I'd have to agree with you there. On the cityscape side of things, like I personally haven't been, but my one of my close friends goes to the Honda Indy every year in Toronto, and that's kind of the same thing. Like it's right in the heart of downtown, massive buildings everywhere, and it's
Yeah,
definitely something that is much more suited for TV.
100%.
Not really a viewer aspect thing, because sure, if you get the right seat, you can maybe see them come down the street, but other than that, you're not
Yeah.
hearing anything. You're just hearing the city echoing off buildings.
Yep. Yeah. So it's gonna be an interesting first go around. So
Yeah,
I,
but that
I mean that
endurance is gonna be sick.
yeah,
yeah. I
yeah,
mean
it's gonna be one to watch.
that's the same complaints now for the new Vegas track. They're only
For
doing the
F1.
grandstands in just one section, right? One or two sections.
I think so, but
I think so. Yeah.
that's just stupid planning. Like they made the track as from what I understand, they made the track as wide as the road.
Mm-hmm. And
Like
it's
it doesn't need to be, does it?
no. Most roads in
No.
Vegas are 6 lanes.
Exactly. Like so make it four. Use the sidewalk side for like where you got to put fences and stuff, and use the other two
Yeah.
lanes for where you're gonna put grandstands.
But then here's the thing, so there is medians in a lot of these
Yeah.
roads.
So are
Come
they
on. With the money
taking?
that they're pulling in from this, they can fucking bulldoze them and relay them.
Yeah,
Plus,
that's
it's
what I think they're
Vegas.
gonna do.
Exactly.
It's not like
They're
they're
gonna take
shy
up
of
the
cash.
medians.
Yeah,
Honestly, they could walk over to MGM, and by the time they're in the door, they'd just be like, "Here, yeah, go ahead, give them the money."
yeah. One, ticket prices are going to be sky high. Hotel prices are going to be sky high. All the casinos are going to increase everything, their drinks, their food, their
They're gonna get
hotel
so much
prices.
money. It's not
It's
even
going to be stupid.
funny.
Yeah. That's why I'm not a big fan. I mean, I could go on a rant of how dumb I think this Vegas race is and how I think F1's just making money off of it
Oh,
more
for
than it
sure.
is for the sport.
No, for sure.
It's
I mean,
definitely a money grab.
Yes.
I think I saw something that's saying that like here the races in the United States, they used to be affordable. Like the average person could go, and now you have to
Yeah.
spend like a lot of
$600
money.
per ticket for a day. That's what the Vegas is.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And
Like
I'm seeing that
I
same
see
thing
the
for the race.
prices at these events, and like I just got to go to Canada's Grand Prix this year for the first time. First time I've ever been
Oh,
to one,
nice.
and I was expecting like those prices, 6, 8, 1,000, you know, $300 for the whole weekend in a grandstand seat. I'm
That's
like,
actually not horrible.
yeah, and that I was sitting at the back straight right at the DRS activation point
Oh, okay. So
on the river side, not on the
you got
inside of
to
the
see a
track
lot
side.
of the overtaking if there was any into that hairpin.
Exactly. My personal
Yeah.
part of it is you got to see, yeah, you got to see everybody coming into the hairpin, and then
Yep.
that kink coming out of the hairpin where everybody loses it on traction, especially because it was raining that weekend on Saturday.
Yeah, it was bad too.
Like, and $300, and then these guys are gonna go here, stare at a concrete wall and a metal post, give me $1,400 a day.
Yep.
Like, what was
Yep.
it? Miami. I remember when that was
Miami.
posted, I had some friends who were looking at going, and there was an obstructed view ticket at turn 1, and it was $1,200 for Friday.
Yeah, I looked at the Miami race as well, and the Sunday ticket, I believe, was on the back straight. I'm trying to think. So it went right and then the longer left. I think it was on that right kink or something like that, like right after that. $700 for that day.
I understand it's expensive to run these events, but like, you have to make it feasible for people to go. I understand
Yep.
that people will pay no matter what the cost is, but like, at what point is it just gouging?
Well, and here's the thing. So I don't know if you guys watch any comedy, but Daniel Ricciardo was on the Your Mother's House podcast, which is Tom Segura and his wife.
I did see that.
And yeah, and Tom Segura actually said that the audience of F1 has grown significantly in the last 3 years from the Netflix show, um, mostly entertaining the blue collar group
Hmm.
of viewers. And I mean, blue collar workers, depending on the job, don't make a whole lot of like enough money for that. Because I
No,
mean, you got to pay for the ticket and you got to pay for the flight to get there.
exactly.
Yeah, it's
So
a whole
it's
experience.
it is.
Mm.
So it's F1. I think is different than what it used to be. I think they're um what they're searching for is completely different.
Yeah, I think of the inverse of that, going back towards like GT3 and the Mons and stuff. SRA is doing our SRA meetup in January at the Rolex 24 hour. I was told that tickets with pit lane passes are like $90.
I believe there's 75.
Exactly. Like what
The 2 day
what
pass is 75.
what? Tell
Yep.
me the
And
correlation
that's
between those two. Like sure it's a permanent racetrack, but even you
yep.
go to other permanent racetracks for F1 and you're paying 5 times that for what, 4 hours of content? Yeah.
Maximum. Yeah. Yeah. So, and then I mean, again, you got to think of like you didn't $75 is just the track. What about hotel, Airbnb,
Exactly.
food?
But
Yeah,
that's what I mean. Like you can fit the cost of flight, hotel, that ticket, and maybe some food under the cost of just
maybe.
your F1 ticket.
Yeah, maybe.
Like,
But it's unreal. And it's like that would be your Friday F1 ticket.
not alone the
Yeah,
weekend.
Yeah.
You're going just for free practice 1 and 2?
Yep. go see Lance Stroll go get P1.
Oh,
Wow,
literally.
real exciting.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah, nice job. There goes $600.
yeah, and you better hope it doesn't rain because it's not a bad
Yeah,
experience, but
it'll be.
it's cold.
Oh, I bet.
We
And
were
especially with when when was the Canada race? Was that in
it was in
May?
June,
June?
so it was like 15 to 20 degrees, but if you're familiar with where that is, it's on a little island that was made for the Olympics back in the 90s, right in the middle of a lake. So you're essentially just a sailboat.
Yeah, you're
You're
wide open.
yeah, like
Wow.
we were sitting within 10 rows from the top of our grandstand, and my God, I should have just been sitting in the water. It was freezing up there.
I mean, you were on Saturday.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah.
And had ponchos galore, hats, whole 9 yards, but everything,
Yeah,
the wind, the brutality, and then going back to where we started on this, and you want me to pay $600 to $800 a day for this?
yeah. It's unreal.
Not to mention $9 for a 355 Heineken.
That's nuts. That is
Mm,
absolutely nuts.
And they had the
hmm.
audacity to go, we'll sell it to you by the case, so you can take a case with you. And we're like, okay, that makes sense. Then I don't have to come
Yeah,
back here and stand in line for 3 hours.
case
Two
is only
hundred
$50.
dollars for a case.
What?
Yeah,
Huh?
and
A
people
case
were
of what?
buying them.
12?
Case of 12 355 milliliter cans of Heineken.
Jesus
Wow.
Christ.
Wow.
Should I mention that was also the only beer that they sold at the event?
Well, isn't it the
It's a yeah.
So,
that's the main sponsor, I think, of that race, isn't it?
So they probably,
right.
make
I
it
think
so
they
that
Sell
had
sell
that's the only
majority
one that can do it.
Heineken. I didn't even
yeah.
see a single. There was no advertising for Heineken anywhere. There was no signs, no flags, no nothing. Just only Heineken beer. I don't know. It's just like some of
That's
their marketing choices are
Interesting.
wonky.
yeah.
Well, speaking of their marketing choices, I don't know if you saw there was a picture circulating Reddit that it cost more money to buy a Red Bull at the Brazil GP than it was to buy alcohol. Like a can of
Wow.
Red Bull was
Now,
10, $11, and like the beer
Yeah.
was like 7, 8.
stuff like that, when it comes to certain types of food and drink in certain places, I can understand it because like
Mhm.
something like I don't know what their thing's called, but let's say the Brazilian FDA says that they don't want that in their country, but F1 wants to spend extra to bring it there, so then they need to bribe and increase the price and get bypasses and things like that, or importing fees if it's not a regular product out there. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, we're really skewing away from.
I mean, then again, like that's the content of the weekend, right? Formula One,
Yeah,
like,
it is, and this is the side a lot of people don't see
no, that's for sure.
or even think about. So you're informed now,
You
and
got
you're
it.
informed of how we feel.
Yeah, for real. I guess Doug's idea was right. We could have called this SRAnting.
uh, well, we could call this week ranting.
There we go.
Grid report ranted.
For real. Everyone's just getting their energy out from box 3.
Exactly. All
Oh
that
my gosh,
that
don't
pent up
even
energy.
get me
Yeah.
started. Did you stay up
Oh
that
yeah.
entire time?
Yep.
Oh my god.
Yep. I stayed up all night and only took a nap like a couple hours ago for the first time in 24 hours. So yeah, it's a good time. But I'm looking forward to next week. Like Nürburgring for SRA is going to be a good track. I got some
Yep.
extra time to practice this weekend now, and
Yep.
the nice thing is with everybody else that was on and ready to race for the endurance, we actually spent most of the morning filling up our fourth main server, which we've got as that practice
Hmm.
public race for 20 minutes, and just doing a bunch of that. And I don't know, I love practicing
Oh,
that way.
that's nice. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's there's actually a lot of people already practicing for Nürburgring, which is good to see. So gonna have probably another competitive week in SRA.
Yeah, the nighttime
It'll be
race
harder.
definitely requires a little bit of extra practices, more of those breaking points and turn-ins or muscle memory, in my opinion at least.
Yeah.
So much less reference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, that was the main thing that I noticed when I was starting to just get a feel of the track is that there's not that many markers
No,
that you
There's
can
not.
heavily rely on. It's all about, okay, now.
Yep.
I'll do it
And
now.
it's gonna be different with cars in front of you, Lucas.
Yeah.
Did I call you out in public? I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do that.
let's run that intro video one more time.
Yeah, yeah. Shout out to Lucas.
Shout out Lucas for the great video.
I do what I can for the content.
We appreciate it.
Yep.
But
Well worth the 1 penalty point.
Yes, sir. My own ticket.
Oh, that's
I
so
get
funny.
the point. You know, it's
that's
great.
the way we like it.
Yes, indeed.
Man, I for like Nürburgring next week, I'm looking at these hot lap times already, and I'm seeing Division 2 drivers in the 54s.
Dude, I'm telling you, that's the sweaty year. It's a sweaty season.
Season of the sweat
It is.
is true. So far, Doug's
It's not
prediction that
good.
D2 is the sweatiest division, I guess, would be true.
It's still holding true. It is correct. And we
We're
haven't even gotten to the race.
for real. We're not even through the weekend.
Yes, we're 2 days into this week.
What kind of pace are you guys doing? How you feeling for the week?
Um, I'm looking at low 55s, hoping to hit the 54s. We'll see.
Yeah. What about you,
Yeah,
I
Lucas?
have no clue.
Oh, you haven't gotten any
could be less
practice in?
than.
I haven't touched it because I was getting ready for Spa, and then obviously that fell through, and then I just been it's been busy. So well, hopefully tomorrow get some track time in. I think I tried putting in some laps today, and I think I invalidated all of them because I
Hmm.
didn't know where the track was going.
Yeah,
But
that makes sense.
it's a good start. It's a good start.
The one thing about this track I will say is if you go off track, that means you're going to go into the gravel just because there's little to no runoff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So,
it's
I've
right
noticed
there.
that.
yeah. So you'll definitely lose more than just your lap time if you go off.
That's for certain.
So,
Yeah,
looking forward to it.
No
it'll
doubt.
be fun.
But I think I've covered everything on my sheet. What about you? You got
I think
any other important points we've missed here? Anything that people should know?
um track release, the full track came out, the track list came
That's
out.
right.
Mm,
We have had that full
mm-hmm.
track list come out since
We have.
since the last episode.
Yep.
Um, actually, I did find something that I've missed.
Uh-oh.
Last week,
Oh,
obviously, we had that first episode, and things are
Mm-hmm.
a little bit different this week. Things look a
Yes.
little bit different.
mm,
We're trying to change things up. We're trying to, give you the best content we can. So down in the description of the video, you're gonna find a link to a Google form. It's just kind of tell us anything and everything you like. Were you here for 5 minutes and gave up on the podcast? Were you here for the whole thing, itching for more? Were you bored by the three quarters of the way through it? Positive, negative. Tell us what you feel. We wanna make some more content. And
We do.
mm,
we're trying out the reactive images. We're gonna try and get some clips and things like that. But you know, cameras, this, that, the other. Maybe you're someone who can help us put some clips together of highlight packs for individual races that we can use, or maybe you just know a good overlay system that works really good. We appreciate
Yeah.
it all, even if you want to tell us we suck.
mm,
Yeah.
yes,
Also, we're
yes.
not only are we looking to make more content, we're also looking to make better content.
Exactly.
Oh, for sure. Well, speaking
Quality.
of this, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, speaking of the schedule, do we want to run by it real quick?
Yeah, might as well.
We
Josh,
haven't talked
you got
about
it
it,
up?
so
Yeah, I do have the
I do.
schedule here. We can give it a quick run through. So we did have Suzuka week one. That week we did trial the longer pit window at 40 minutes. It gave people a bunch of extra freedom. This week we've got Nürburgring at night. Next week we're running, or sorry, not next week. Next week we do have a week off for the American Thanksgiving, And we'll be back for November the 29th for Indianapolis. December the 6th, we'll be racing at Misano in the wet, followed by December 13th at Snetterton, where we'll also be trialing that 40-minute pit window again. We're going to take 2 weeks off for the holidays, say a little Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's, and everything in between. Come back on January 3rd for some wet Barcelona, followed by Laguna Seca the next week, and to finish it all off, Kailami at night. In between all that, there's going to be quite a bunch of special events. We've got a 1,000 member endurance event that's going to be coming up in January. And we do have the Transatlantic Cup, a North American and European partnered championship with ONID Racing. We're going to be doing a bit of a home and home series with 20 invite-only drivers from each league competing against each other for an overall championship. So this season's got a lot in store.
It does. And just to throw quickly out there, the 1K endurance race is actually SRA's 1-year anniversary, or birthday, shall we say, on December the 3rd. So looking to make a big event there with that in mind as well.
That's going to be a lot of fun.
It is.
Definitely.
So
I'm going to be putting our season graphic up on the screen while we're talking about this, so everybody can have a look at that. And if you want some more information, head on over to SimRacingAlliance.com or come join us in the Discord and ask questions away. We got lots of people here who can help whenever you need it.
yep, super friendly staff and even members. So very good community to be involved in.
Definitely. And if you join in time, Thursday night, you'll see that we've got our coaching session. Even if you don't want to take part in the championship, but you need some help or you want some help and find some tips and tricks every week. I know this week's was a lot of help. Go over some lap guides and some individual help and everything in between.
Nailed it.
So on that note, from the SRA Grid Report, it's been a slice, and we'll see everybody next week.
See you later.